Sound, a group of vibrations, things that can be heard. Sound can influence the way we communicate in the world with others. Many artists have used sounds in music, speech, and sound effects when recorded, used to accompany a presentation.
From the
film,
beginner
video production,
to the master, from the novice to the professional, from playing and experimenting with things and, hey, then you come out with a masterpiece. These are all elements of the arts. And the art we focus on this show is sound. Hi, I'm LV Smith of Sounds Within. And as promised, I did have Imagination Station come back for the next episode. And we're going to try to have as many episodes as possible to learn about the world of animation, especially how it relates to urban youth. So we're glad to have back Mr. Starr Ray
Hey, thanks,
and his
man.
magnificent son, Macomm Ray. And I'm telling you, I'm so excited because right now our station now is evolving. We moved to a new place, and it's going to be much bigger than where we are now. We're grateful for what we have. We're grateful for what we have. Let me tell you, when you're a community station and funds are scarce and you rely on volunteers and underpaid people, and they give so much, I'm telling you, folks, you ought to be part of this experience. Pasadena Media, I love you.
Awesome.
Well, we're going to get back to Mr. Ray and Mr. Ray, and we're going to touch on something that has troubled me as a child. I noticed when I was a child, there weren't many people of color. And if so, it was all stereotype. And let alone, I never knew of one African-American producer or animator. They just weren't around that I knew of. And so this is why we have Starr Ray here to talk about this episode, the contributions of African-American animators. Brother Ray, enlighten us.
There's a good handful of African-American animators out there that contributed to the whole industry. A lot of the ideas in the forefront of what the concepts and the themes were spawned from a lot of original ideas that were done long time ago.
What is a
and
long time
revamped.
ago, roughly?
You know, I would say back even back in the 1930s, maybe even further back than that, because you always had art and interpretation of art, back in the history of what society is about and how society evolved today. A lot of it came from being an original artistic person, which is why we do what we do. We want to make the station be about that, where we bring out the originality of the creators and the artists that we associate with, because we were associated with creative people from various aspects. Being creative in sound, then you have sound design, you have illustrators, pencilers. Sometimes you have a penciler who's not an inker. You have painters. You have animation, and it's an art within itself. Therefore, the steps within animation make up a collaboration of those things. You can't really, even when you're doing animation, it's timing, which goes back to rhythm, which relates to sound, which relates to music, and how that we talk about that in our team. So there's a lot of, there's a gentleman, one of the 9 men from Disney is African American. I believe his name is William, I believe, but I believe he's still living. But he was one of the 9 men from the original Disney animation.
men.
The 9 men. The
We're gonna have to
first
do
Mickey
research.
animations. And,
Whoa.
Yeah, the 9 men. Yeah, Steamboat Willie. Yeah.
Yeah.
The, Snow White. All of those episodes.
Oh,
He was one of the 9 men.
I sensed there had to be some representation somewhere.
Yeah. And so there's a gentleman who actually worked with the voiceover work as well, even as far back as the episode they did with Disney did Song of the South. The voice he's a voice of other characters.
No.
With some,
Do you recall any of the characters he was?
I think he was some character associated with Donald Duck series or something. And he also did something with, what was that? It's after Song of the South. I believe I'm not sure if it was Mary Poppins or if it was he was the voice of one of the animatronics for Mary Poppins. if I'm correct, but I'll check again. But he was a
Please.
part of some of the things,
Please.
and maybe I think also Fantasia. He was a part of the guy who helped orchestrate because they, the reference material.
Yes.
They go off of the personality. You know what I'm saying? And so some of our processes. We
I
go off of
felt
personality.
that presence there. It had to
Yeah.
be, but I thought it was just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
And here you confirmed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we need
yeah.
to get names.
It's
It's good to know
Yeah.
that there was, but
Yeah.
we're gonna need to spread the knowledge of
Right.
who. So when you come back,
Right.
you will have those names.
I can give you some names. I know one of the gentlemen, the 90 Men, I believe his name was William.
William.
I can't remember his
Okay,
last
that's
name.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. We're gonna
William.
we're gonna dig up those
Yeah.
names.
Yeah,
'Cause
but,
we gotta bring out our facts. We
Right,
gotta bring out those
exactly.
facts.
Yeah, but it's factual. It's definitely,
Yes, I know it's factual. That's why
yeah.
we're gonna be specific in our facts.
Oh, right, absolutely.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Macomm, on that
Yeah.
one. So wonderful. Now, before we get deep in even more, and before we get in our PSA, I want to know, what do you know of the history of African American animators, Brother Malcolm?
So far, I haven't been really digging that deep, so I'm not sure. But from the knowledge of my dad,
So the seed is starting to spawn, and you're starting to dig in, because like when you walk in the community, and sometimes of all the politicking going around, people say, well, what have you ever contributed? We did such and such.
Right.
Well, that's the reality.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the reality. Like
Right.
we were discussing in music, and I played you a little piece by a very knowledgeable group who do give back to the community. But as we found out, they weren't African American, but their roots in music, and they acknowledge strongly African American.
Exactly.
So, but the thing is, when you can't name the names, people will say, well,
Right.
yeah. So that's why we gotta really be
Right.
specific in knowing those names.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't mean to be pulling
Right.
out my stick and pound on
Right.
you.
Oh, no,
but
we
gotta-
totally understand,
But
yeah.
we have to bring out those
Yeah,
names.
totally
It's
understand.
like
Yeah.
acknowledging who we
Yeah.
are, and
Right,
where
absolutely.
we arrive.
Yeah, because the gentleman I was
Exactly.
speaking about with the 90 Men, if they can Google it, they can research, and they can go back into the history of Disney, look up the 90 Men. He is the only African American on there in that group. I don't remember his last name exactly, but he's the only one. So if you want to research and you want to do more digging, you can do that on your own merit.
Okay, you're
Yeah,
gonna
that's how
bring
you
that
do
next
that.
time.
That's how you cover that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've all gonna have to do some homework.
Y'all don't want this done.
Yeah.
You know.
But okay, so like, does any of the work you do at Imagination Station, we're gonna talk about that in our next episode, because I do smell a PSA coming
Oh.
very shortly,
Oh, okay.
and we're gonna visit that PSA, and we're gonna come back with that.
Oh, excellent.
Nice.
Oh, it's not the PSA, is it?
Plastic ones last longer.
Pork bellies close steady due to speculation that demand for bacon-related products.
Read me this one, Daddy.
Okay, honey. The less art kids get, the more it shows. Are yours getting enough? Art. Ask for more. AmericansForTheArts.org.
I'm principal of a new kind of public school. It's open up to 15 hours a day, year-round. Our teachers have more time to teach. Our students are better prepared to learn. There's just one problem. We can't get the kids to go home.
Find out how your school can be more like this one. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
Hi, LV Smith, Sounds Within. Today we have the Ray family, part of Imagination Station. And I understand we have some of your projects here.
Yes.
And if it's possible, we'd like to see one of those little things. What was that first one you're going to show?
We wanted to-
Supernatural?
Oh yeah, we wanted to show the Supernaturals. Those are the more serious characters of the Starr characters universe. Yes, they're like, it's kind of like, you know, my own universe. Like Marvel has a universe, DC has a universe,
Yes.
even Milestone has a universe. The brother Dwayne Mcduffie. He's an animator, and he's also he's a comic book writer. In fact, he wrote the last Superman, and he passed away after that. They're celebrating him right now. But he has a universe, and this particular clip is one of our serious characters. His name is the Galaxian Legend. And it's just a short clip about him. It talks about, what the character, is coming from, 21st century storytelling. We want to take storytelling to the next level.
Let's pay attention to the sounds as it happens as we watch.
Right.
As we watch, what's that one? Supernatural?
Supernatural.
Okay, let's check it out.
Characterism and inspirational family entertainment has begun. Star's World. Building a universe, one star at a time.
How about that? How about that? That was Supernatural. Now, tell me, what was the history of Supernatural, how that came about?
That came about, you know what? It was an experience. This particular character on that clip I had a dream about this character. It was actually a story in my dream. And it was kind of like a movie in my dream. And LV, man, when I woke up, I was writing like nobody's business. I was writing down.
That's an art in itself.
Say that, bruh. It was like, man, it came to me and I was like, oh, wow. And the character evolved, the story evolved from there along with the character. And so it was, that one came in a dream, and it was, it's been evolving ever since. It's the supernatural concept is all about, we're not doing superheroes, we're doing supernaturals. It's the evolution of the superhero going to another genre. Our genre are supernaturals.
Okay, would you explain what do you mean by when you say supernatural versus superheroes?
Okay, superheroes are based upon, it's the hero construct and the motif of the hero. Superhero came along when they started to advance the more idea of the Lone Ranger and the early super guys and stuff like that, the Pulp Fiction type stuff. Okay, the word super came in. Our stuff is more so the advancement and the evolution of that idea. We say supernaturals because all of the things about the attributes about them are focused on the inner self of the being and the person who they are. So you have supernatural aspects about you. You know, it's supernatural to be able to create sound. Everyone can't create sound. You know, I know some people who can play instruments or play drums or something, can't see, some of them can't hear. To me, that's a supernatural thing happening.
You're not speaking of Stevie Wonder, are you?
Well, he's one of them, but along many
Ray
others.
Charles.
Like, oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, these guys are geniuses. And so the supernatural aspect of it is to be able to let people know the attributes of who you are, make you a supernatural. Being able to do what you do with the talent, but the principles you use, you know, using it for a positive way or a negative way. You know, in the supernatural realm, there's good guys and bad guys, good women and bad women. So therefore, these stories express, who do you want to be? It's a supernatural thing. What do you want to become? You know, you expand beyond just yourself when you're operating in the supernatural.
So what you're saying is a superhero means focus on one person to solve everything.
Right.
Where the supernatural means you're reaching out and feeding on more and more people.
Absolutely.
Sort of like a super community.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Right. It's a collective. It's like a collective energy. It's not just, I'm going to come in and save you, right? And supernaturals focus on, we're going to help you save yourself if you desire to.
We all have to save ourselves
Absolutely.
against things that are not right.
Right.
situation where we are.
Right.
Ah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, paradigm shift. I know
Yes, sir.
I know she brought some things here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell us about them.
Listen, this here is hold this from me.
Yeah, no problem.
This is one of the original comic strips from Pookie and Pandy from actually July years ago. Yeah, it's a comic strip. We had it poster boarded. It's hanging up in the studio, so I just took it down and brought it.
Now, what's the history of this?
It's the history of this particular comic strip. It did really good. It was more so like original black and white. So we revamped it with the art and the color theory. We cover all that stuff. And we wanted to put it as like a monument for this particular character, led to where we are today. This character was far beyond before we had a studio.
Wow.
I mean, Pookie and Pandy is like my, Mickey, and you know what I'm saying? That's what it is for me. They represent the personality of, it was the fun, love, this is what we want to do, and these characters and how they affect people, We did color books, we've done greeting cards, we've done working on the music.
So
right
it
now.
all began at home,
Yes.
on a table
Yes.
at home, where you just got a vision and you start implementing it.
You know what? Actually, I got off tour, and
Off tour. Now, what do you mean off tour? Tour
I was touring with Tony.
What were you doing with Tony, and Tony?
We were the opening act for various tours when I was in entertainment. Yes,
no,
sir.
you mean who is
Yes,
we?
sir. Me, and I was in a group, then I was in a band. I started a group called Young Attraction.
Wow.
We toured with New Kids on the Block, Karen White, Babyface. We opened for the Motown Review. We went from the garage, and went to the stage. We got picked up by a promoter, and man, dreams do come true. We went from practicing and having literally nothing. Well, we were selling candy just to make our uniforms.
So wow. So you're talking about contributing to a piece of history.
Yes.
In the music scene, here you were
Right.
hanging out with some very established people.
Yes.
And then, where did the animation come from?
That's the tripped out part. The art came in, man, when I transitioned. I was always an artist. But I wasn't able to use my imagination as much as I would like to. I stopped drawing for like at least 5 years, man. About 5 years I stopped drawing because I was on the road. I was with my group, and we was a singing dance group and that type of thing. But I used to illustrate, at least I could illustrate the outfits we wore. I got a lot of joy out of that, and I would design and draw the concept how we should look on stage. If we should go with balloons, did we want to go with flowers this time? What kind of suits we wanted to wear? We even cut our hairstyles a certain way.
So you're doing hair for men. The women was into hair, so you're doing hair for men.
Yeah, I was drawing like we should do our hair like this, Yeah. So we were just trying things, and it was working, And so I got off tour, that love was there, man. And the characters, I was like, I think I saw some cartoon on TV. Oh, I know, it was a TV show was on. I think it was a Sesame Street show. And I just remember my love as a kid. I used to wake up and watch Captain Kangaroo, whatever was on and all that.
That was positive stuff.
Yeah, positive stuff,
So these guys come in to be positive. So what's going to happen now? We're going to give poor Malcolm a little rest, and we're going to watch another little animation short, and that one is called?
That one's Captain Kid.
So we're going to watch Captain Kid. Huh?
Captain Kid.
Captain Kid.
And Starr Ray Tunes.
Starr Ray Tunes. And we got to talk about how Captain Kid came about.
Oh, you're going to love that.
Oh, I'm going to. Sure. Yeah. So let's check out Captain Kid.
All
right. A new era of 21st century storytelling, characterism, and inspirational family entertainment has begun.
What was that we were watching?
That was Galaxian in the New World.
Hey, that's just as good. We could always come back to the other one. That's fine. That was excellent. Excellent.
Oh,
excellent.
thank you.
Excellent. Now, we're going to get back to our little subject of your personal history.
Yes.
About imagination and how you stumbled into this thing to make it happen.
Right.
So, here you are. We last left you. You were part of a group and trying to make them look good.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I know, we saw them in groups, the boy groups
Yeah.
there. They look good and stuff, but we
Right.
never thought about it.
Right.
We always thought about the women and their hair.
All right.
But the guys who wore the suits, but then again, we never thought about it.
Right. That's how I felt when we was working on, when the group, we was like, well, what can we do? Because there was other groups we were competing with.
Oh, yeah.
So we were like, what could we do to be different, have that edge? And they was like, well, hey, let's, they was like, well, you're an artist. I was like, yeah. I would say, well, can't you cut some designs in our hair or something? And I was like, oh, I never really thought about that. They was like, yeah.
So you introduced cutting designs in hair.
Yeah, for our group.
But then that picked up.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. I would cut our names in our hair, so when we turn around, we'd be back face to the audience. Everybody had their name on the back of their head, and trust me, I'm artistic and barbering. I wasn't like super barber or nothing, but I could get the clippers and I could draw with it like a pencil. And man, we tried it and it worked. It worked. Man.
That is hard.
Yeah.
Okay, now we know how that happened. Now, how did this transfer into animation cartoons?
After the group, we went into a phase. Everyone broke up. We had some situations. Some children were born, and they started families, so we had to disperse. For me, I didn't have a family yet. My son wasn't with me yet.
Twinkle of your eye.
Exactly. And for me, it was more so a vision of a greater. I like music. I like performing, but I couldn't do the art at the same time while I was on the road. So we had I think it was maybe a year and a half. I had downtime, and then I just start pouring it on the page. I said, you know what? I'm going to start drawing. I'm going to get back into these cartoons. And the first idea that came to me was Pookie and Pandy. They was there. I was like, oh yeah, I want some bears, and they can be fun, and they're not just for kids. It's a relationship scenario where kids can see pure love and two bears interacting with their friends. Kind of like a social thing in their world. So
it's more like an animation for everyone, a true family.
Yeah, it's like
sort
a family.
Of thing.
Yeah.
So okay, the animation maybe was drawing the kids just to get out of the parents' hair, but then there was some stuff for the parents to pay attention to.
Exactly. And it caught on. I drew I did a window for Christmas using my bears, and a newspaper saw it, and they said, hey, can we put the bears in the newspaper? And then there it went. They started being in publications, and they started getting out there, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even have an agent or anything. It just started happening. And so I said, oh, okay. And they was like, do another one, do another one, do another one. Pretty soon I was doing a weekly series.
Wonderful. Now, we're going to go past that now, because here you're doing comic book drawing and animation, but that was not animation then.
Right.
Where did we go from cartoon drawing into animation?
I wanted to go ahead and bring it to life. I wanted to see how, I went back and I started studying a lot of animation, and I was like, well, I like animation, but I didn't see the kind of animation I wanted to see.
What do you mean?
I didn't see a lot of characters that looked like me. I didn't see a lot of characters that were in situations like me. Fat Albert was already played out. It had already ran its toll. It wasn't even airing no more.
It was running its course.
And more so African American images, but also the kind of stories that I like that were from the heart, they weren't telling them no more. I mean, not even just African American, but also just what people go through in life. It was getting away from that. And so I said, well, I'll tell the story.
So it's more like a community experience where it's just not shared, or it's either see a fantasy world or a well-established world, but seldom an urban world or a impoverished world sort of thing. So
that type of thing. It was because not all African Americans, like me, I'm a universal African American. So when I would tell my stories, it would be for a long time, people didn't even know that I was an African American person doing Pookie and Pandy. And then one day I was on an interview, and they was like, "Oh wow, he's African American." But it was a really good thing. They was like, "Wow," because like you said, they didn't know that people of color were doing these kind of characters. Because you look at it, you say, oh, is that Disney? Is that this? Is that that? And that's how that kind of spawned.
It's Imagination Station.
Exactly. And so we have fans of all races and all ages, and it is really good. You know, we got people still trying to order back issues. Yeah, man. We still get fan mail for Pookie and Patty get their own fan mail. I couldn't believe it. I was like, they're still writing us?
Yeah.
Years later, man.
Now we're going to shift a little gears because it's that demon called time is about creeping.
Oh, gotcha.
It's not your fault, but we want to hear from Brother Malcolm there. Where did you come in to the scene before we close off, and how this impacts the future?
Like, what do you mean? You mean, how does it?
How did you stumble into the animation world?
Oh,
What brought you into the historics?
I started getting into, like, when I was young, I would start getting into color books and stuff, and then I would see my dad drawing on his art table. And I was like, oh, I could do that too. And so I started off with stick figures, and then I started drawing really big faces. And then I went into drawing little, like, superhero guys that my dad was drawing, so I started trying to, like, duplicate it a little bit. So I got into that, and then as I got older, I started developing my art style. And then I started getting more exposed because my dad into comics and stuff, because I had got away from it for a while. But I got into it, and I was like, wow, what am I missing? I'm an artist. I don't want to like miss my talent. And so then I started just getting and growing older, and then I got into it. And then when I was drawing, I just started coming up with ideas, and then my dad was helping me write the stories, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I started getting like, it's coming from the heart when I was drawing it, so I was like, this is what I should do.
Wow. That's impressive. Folks, we're going to have to come back to this. And we're going to move on. And we like to visit some aspects what is involved in the station. Is that possible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so when we come back again down the road, give you a little breather, we're going to come back with Imagination Stations. Until then, folks, do tune in again. Awesome.